Hey, everybody, welcome to the Integrated Entrepreneur. I have a good friend with me, Tony Whatley. And Tony is a coach that has built things. He has a coaching program that I respect because I know he does the job and I know that his clients get the results because I wind up working with some of them. All right. And I see the differences. I want Tony to introduce himself before we talk about what real coaching looks like. So, Tony, take it away.
Jonathan, man, good to catch up. We've known each other for several years now, 6 years, dude. It's crazy how time has gone by.
Yeah.
But backstory, I've always been a car fanatic, and that led for me to putting myself through college in engineering because I figured I'd get an engineering degree and maybe go work for the big three and design Corvettes or something, kind of a dream job. After I graduated, I realized that the oil and gas industry here in Houston, my home city, pays a lot more than the automotive industry.
Yeah.
And I could actually afford those nice cars by working for oil and gas instead of designing them. So that's what I chose to do. But I didn't have the itch scratched for the car thing. And
Hmm.
so I decided to teach myself how to start businesses in the automotive performance aftermarket industry. I started ls1tech.com, which within 1 year grew to the number one General Motors performance community on the internet. And it's still to this day. When I sold that company to a private equity firm in 2007, there was about 300,000 members. In the middle of that, I also spun off performancetrucks.net for the guys that like to drag race their pickup trucks. And we grew that one to about 200,000 members. So even my second attempt was pretty good.
Yeah.
We had this company going around buying all these top level websites in 2007, and we sold those for a few million. From there, I spun off into selling automotive wheels. It was based on something I was already doing with my communities,
Hmm.
but the people that acquired the company did not want the retail side of it. So I just created another LLC with a different name and kept it going with the same accounts.
Yep.
And that grew to seven figures just selling custom forged wheels, made in USA stuff, high end stuff. I don't sell the cheap wheels. I knew the customers were just a lot different.
Yep.
Started focusing just on the high tier market. And yeah, I just built these while working oil and gas at the same time. And that became the book Side Hustle Millionaire.
Yep.
Coaching was something that I didn't really think about doing full time until around 2016.
What made you make that jump? Not too many coaches have had two successful exits.
Yeah.
And let's talk about that. Two successful exits while you're actually working a traditional 9 to 5. Most entrepreneurs can't even get out of their own way and build business credit.
Yeah. I think it's a blessing. The oil and gas industry, I got to play with a lot of big numbers. Early in my career, when I was a junior project manager,
Hmm.
I was managing these $1 to $2 million projects. At the time, I thought that was a lot of money, and I was very emotional about making decisions and worried about taking risks. I remember being stressed out earlier in my career because I was new and learning things. It just seemed like a lot of money because I was probably making like 45 grand a year. At the end of my career, 20 plus years in, I was managing these multi-billion-dollar projects, international teams of 75 to 100 people,
Wow.
global time zones of different team members all over the world. I was making decisions on projects that had a daily burn rate of over $1 million a day. And
Wow.
so through that journey, I learned to remove emotion from making the right decisions because that's what they compensated me for, to be able to take on this risk, understand the numbers, the data forecasting, and all these different things to make the right decisions. I started to learn processes and systems at a very high level, very complex, highly regulated industry. You can imagine, I think the space industry and the oil industry have the highest regulations.
Yeah.
So I learned that from an operator standpoint and started to understand I could learn this stuff here and apply it to small business. And so when I started building these side businesses,
Yeah.
it was actually very easy for me because we look at things like people talk about EOS and traction and all these process type things. They're good, but when I read that book, and I have clients that use it,
Yep.
it looks like preschool level compared to what I was used to working on, right?
Got it. Yeah.
And so I think it's a good starting point, and sometimes that's all you need as a company, but realize that it gets far more complex. I was able to take the leadership, the communication, and all these different aspects I learned in large corporate, distill those things down into making small business. And so the reason I left that industry is I was getting on that executive path,
Yeah.
working under vice presidents. I started to look at these people that I was working for and realizing that they didn't have the lifestyle that I actually wanted. I actually had a better lifestyle than them.
Yeah.
Why was I working so hard playing the political game, understanding that these people can't give me anything that I don't already have? So it's going to be another 10 years before I'm sitting in that same corner office. And so I started to realize that they didn't really treat people as well as they act like they do. When there's
Mhm.
layoffs, there's mass layoffs in these industries,
All
and
the time.
they cut people on a financial decision and do things that are kind of heartless.
Hmm.
And so when I was having to lay people off that were couple of months from hitting their full pension because that was a better financial choice rather than the logical one. It did not set well with me. It just didn't align with the core values. And there's a couple of careers that I had in that space where I actually resigned from unethical things, from watching things that were just against my core values.
Yeah.
These were jobs that I was making over $200,000 a year in salary.
Yeah.
And I would come home and my wife's like, "Why are you home?" I was like, "They're pulling some games. They're trying to scam some vendor. This guy, I called him out on it. They didn't like it. And so I'd resigned." And another one was I was due a promotion for vice president role, and we hit all the numbers, had all the things lined up, and then they fired the guy that was going to give me the promotion. They brought two outsiders to bring on for those new roles, and I was like, I'm not going to do that because I helped build this
Yep.
startup, and I'm not going to stick around and keep
Yeah.
the same role that they promised you something different. So it was unethical,
Yep.
and so you see that a lot in these corporate entities, and the people that make it to the top are the ones that don't rock the boat, and they just kind of play the game,
Yep.
say what they want to hear. I'm not that kind of guy, you know that.
Absolutely not. You don't have control. When you have a good business sense, the most frustrating thing is to have someone tell you to do something that either goes against your beliefs or core values, or you're going to do it and it's going to come out wrong. And I think that's why a lot of us try at some point make that jump because we're just tired of it.
Yeah.
So I want to talk in depth about coaching because I do think it's a plague on most business owners. And I think it's a plague because there's no barrier to entry. You just need a great sales page, decent marketing, or you need to be great at sales and you can get anybody in, teach them whatever, and nothing is actually verified. A long time ago, we joked around, how awesome would it be if these social sites would have a personal financial statement, a credit score, so every post, you know exactly who you're talking to and what they've done, But we don't have that. So give us some ideas of what are some great questions to ask if and when people are choosing to look for a coach or consultant that can actually tell them, are they real or are they just very good at sales?
I'll piggyback off what you said. You talked about them being good at sales and marketing. The most famous or influential coaches are just the best marketers. They're not necessarily the best coaches.
Mm-hmm.
They don't necessarily have the best results. They may be showing you that they're making some high level income based on their coaching,
Yep.
but it's really good marketing. And that's also a testament to people who are out there maybe watching or listening to this that are genuinely good coaches. They're good coaches and wondering why they haven't made multiple six figures or seven figures. It's because you suck at marketing.
Yeah.
Like you have to get better at marketing to match your skill set. I've had to do that myself over the years. And so understanding that aside, let's push the marketing aside, the glitz, the glamour, the flexing, the Lambos and all this shit, right?
McLaren's
McLaren's or
It's usually-
whatever the douchebag mobile of the day is. I love
Yep.
cars. You guys can go check. I got cool cars, but
You do.
I also own titles to my cars. That's the difference between me and them. So
Yep.
the other thing here is that you need to look back at their career and the things that they were doing before they became a coach. And anybody that's becoming a coach in the last 10 years, they're going to be on the internet
Yep.
because the internet has been around. And so everything's been out there. You should be looking at these apps that are for background checks. If you go look at these background checks on some of the biggest names, you'll find that there's a history of criminal records, even hints of things that are just lazy or complacent about things like parking tickets and driving with suspended licenses. And like these things all show up on these background checks. Some of these people are having these every single month for years.
Yeah.
And you're trying to learn performance and success from someone that can't even pay their bill to register their vehicle or things like that. You see evidence of restraining orders from their exes and stuff like that. It's domestic abuse. You see criminal records. You see bankruptcies. I don't know about you, but I would never want to learn about financial success from someone who's gone bankrupt a few times. Like that doesn't make any sense to me. Yeah, you can learn and you can do better, but why would I go to you in the first place? Because like you said, their credit's probably shot even though they're living on the cash flow. And so look for evidence of previous success before they became a coach. If they're making money because they're a coach, I don't want to hire them.
Yeah.
You and I, we hired Andy Frisella and Ed Milet.
Yes, we
They
did.
were very successful, hundreds of millions of dollars in net worth before they even decided to become coaches. Like well documented. So look at their previous successes. Did they have any, or are they only flexing because they're a coach? That's number one.
Yep.
You and I can see the red flags, and I have a lot of passion in this subject. I make some funny videos and poke fun at this.
The
reason I do that, Jonathan, there's a reason. I feel like I wasted at least a year of my life
Yeah.
watching from the sidelines, understanding that all these shenanigans and games were going on.
Mhm.
I knew that me being the new guy to the industry, if I decided to be more public about this, that I would be judged in the same lump of shit as all these people doing the guru shit.
Yeah.
And it would take me some amount of time to climb out of that to show that I'm not the same person. So I kind of sat from the sidelines and watched it. And I was like, man, I just don't want to be in the mix of these people. I have money.
Hmm.
I've got family. I've got businesses to run. I didn't want to be on camera. I never wanted to be on stages. I never thought I would have podcasts and all this stuff. I just didn't want to do that. I literally wrote the book in hopes that I could just write this book and put it out there.
And be
And
done.
if it did well, cool. And if not, I tried.
Yep.
People wanted to interview me and all this stuff. I had to do all the preparing to be able to do this kind of stuff. I wasted at least a year of my life between 2016 and 2017 watching all this and finally deciding, you know what? People keep asking me for this. My friends and family, former employees, staff members, former coworkers, I've been helping them build businesses for 15 years.
Yeah.
And I've built 7, 8, and one 9-figure business with my friends.
Yep.
They're always telling me, man, you should be teaching this. I had all the excuses not to do it. And
Yep.
I finally said, I need to start putting my purpose above my fear. And the fear is judgment. I wasn't comfortable in front of all the cameras. I never did that. I built
Yep.
logos, built cool websites, and everybody knew that I owned them, but it wasn't about me. It was
Yep.
about them. Right. So that's the passion and a little backstory. I'm not letting those guys off the hook too, because there's a lot of New York Times best-selling authors who sold a lot of books,
Hmm.
wrote something incredible that you probably read and even nodded your head if you're listening to the audiobooks. Go, this is an amazing book. You should always do the due diligence after you read that book before you share it and go, this is good stuff. Let me see what this author achieved before this book. I want to know where the source of this
Yep.
knowledge came from, right? Work down the
Sure.
rabbit hole. You'll find that probably half, I'm not exaggerating, probably half of those people hadn't done shit before their book became a hit. Some of those
I
people weren't even in management working in some corporate job. They were like low-level employee operator role, and they wrote some book about leadership.
Yep.
They were never a leader of anything, but the book is great.
Yeah.
So always do the backgrounds.
I can think of 10 people off the top of my head that we both know that fall into that category.
Yeah.
Do you mind sharing some of the process? Because I know coaching has a real process. You have an intake, an onboarding. You're trying to get time to value, meaning you want to perform and you want to see quick improvements so your clients build that momentum and continue on and just crush it. So, what I'd like to do, if it's okay with you, I'd like you to detail what your process looks like because I guarantee you, when someone hears what your process is versus what they've been through in the past, they're probably going to be like, oh shit. So, can you walk us through that?
Yeah, it's a little bit different. I have an unorthodox process because every client is coming in at a different level of mindset, different
Yep.
level of skills, different level of experience, knowledge base. And so I don't believe in the whole cookie cutter 10 steps to success. Like you see these canned process like things that people sell for $9.97 and all the shit we laugh
Yeah.
about. You follow these steps and you will become a millionaire. One that's against FTC regulations to guarantee some kind of a financial outcome.
Yep.
You shouldn't even have that in your marketing. You'll get fined now for millions if they catch you doing it. But there's no cookie cutter. I mean, you and I, we both achieve success at different paths, different journeys, different
Yep.
experiences, different parts of the country. And so to be really honest about getting somebody a result, you have to do a thorough assessment of where they're currently at. What are they
Absolutely.
bringing to this business table? Do they have any education? Have they worked with any other coaches? Have they have a good, strong financial understanding? Do they understand if their company's building something to exit or has some kind of enterprise value, or are they just going through the motions and paying themselves as a self-employed business owner? There's a lot of questions that we go up through front and a lot of mental hangups. And, I think that there's no shortcut on time. I think minimum of 1 year when you're working with somebody is when you start to see a real result. Yeah, we will see some quick wins here and there,
Mhm.
but I find that I've had clients just like everybody else that quit too early. They quit in the first
Yes.
quarter, they quit 6 months in because they feel like just like a gym membership. They're not seeing the muscles or the six pack yet. And they're kind of like, oh,
Yeah.
this is costing me some money. And the ones that have stayed with me for years see the best results. And there's a reason because it takes time to unwind all the things we're programmed
Yes.
with to start having a different perspective, looking at a bigger picture and taking the bigger journey and challenging yourself and doing things that are difficult or things that you're hesitating with to finally start to have enough small wins that they stack up years into this. And so, I think that the cookie cutter stuff, I tried that at the beginning because I thought that's what you had to be, a certified business coach. You got to follow this process. It doesn't work. It starts to fall down like a house of cards. When you do that with a dozen different clients, it might work on a couple of them because that lined up perfectly where they're at. But 2 months is like just learning the personalities, understanding what their fears are, what their real challenges are, what are the things that are holding them back,
Yep.
and then chipping away at the highest priority of those at a time. The big hint here, most of the things holding you back as business owners is your mindset. That's the foundation of everything. If
It
you
is.
don't have the right mindset, confidence, and certainty, you're hesitating, just like I was about not wanting to be on camera,
Yep.
things that will move the needle for your business. These are the things that you really have to go through, and it's not easy.
It's
It
not
takes
comfortable.
time. It's very difficult. When I met you, you're very shy, you're very soft spoken. You didn't want to be on camera.
No.
So it took you years, just like me, to figure like, dude, like I got to do this. I got to do better. I got to put myself on a show. I got to start
Yeah.
creating content. And look what it's done for your business.
Yeah.
Right.
You told me about Toastmasters, like the hidden secret.
Yeah.
I want you to know something. One of the most regular videos I will catch on Facebook or Instagram that will make me get up and actually do something. And I've never told you this before, but when you're doing those deadlifts, it actually makes me want to get up and do it. I do it because I'm like, wait, Tony's putting it in and better. Does this every day, right? Makes me do it, right?
Doing
And
hard things.
yeah, but that's how we develop. That's how we develop. I teach my kids that all the time. My kids work out every day. They're 10 and 6. You develop the habits now, they don't go away. You get the results that the majority of Americans deal with, and it's not really a great result.
That's another strategy, but it's something that I'm just really documenting with my life. And you caught on to that with the deadlifts. That's a good example. So
Yeah.
part of my content strategy, which isn't because I created it as content, but I'm creating
It's
content
you.
because of how I live.
Yeah.
I always look for some way to learn a new skill and do
Yeah.
things that are uncomfortable and promise that I'm going to take people on that journey with me,
Yeah.
good and bad,
Hmm.
and they will see it in a result, good or bad, at the end of some time period, right? And
Yeah.
so the deadlifts was a good example. So when I first started doing those, I started taking them more serious probably about 4 years ago now, maybe 5 years ago.
Yep.
And at the time, I could barely pick up 315. That's 3 plates on each side, and it hurt my back. My form was off. I was
Yep.
wearing the wrong shoes. I finally started hiring a coach to teach me form and
Yeah.
understanding the different stances and even the angle of your feet. Little things make a big difference, especially when you start lifting heavier.
Yep.
And my initial goal was like, man, I would like to be able to lift 405, so 4 plates each side. And I said, okay, I'm going to do that. And it took me a year and a half of working
Yeah.
out, doing that twice a week, deadlifts twice a week. And finally, I remembered the first time 405 came up off the ground. I was so high on it, I didn't know what to do without putting it down. So I just dropped it from waist high because I was like, it's heavy. Never had this much before. What do I do with this shit? So I just dropped it. This hilarious, funny video, full drop. After I did that, it was like this mental barrier was removed that I could not lift 4 plates for a very long time leading up to that. Once you do it, it's kind of like running that record mile we hear about. And you go, okay, so it became the norm. I could do that almost every week every tried.
Yeah.
That became the goal of, okay, I got 405. That took less time than I thought. So let me see if I can get to 500,
Yeah.
right? So now you're at 5 plates on each side.
Yep.
I was 49 at the time. And I said, I'm going to hit 500 sometime when I'm 50. That's the goal.
Yeah.
It took another year and a half to finally get to the 500 because I only weigh
Yeah.
195. I'm not a big dude.
Yeah.
And so I had to really put in the work and not injure myself at the same time lifting those heavy weights. I learned about form and just hand position and shoulder position and locking in and like all this tactics
Yeah.
using a wider bar that has more flex in it. That way it kind of gradual off the ground. There's a lot of things that you do. Yeah. So now I'm 51. I can lift 515. I'm not pushing it anymore. I'm not going to 600 because I don't want to look like that guy, the meathead guy. I'm not going to do that.
But here's the thing, though. This analogy was amazing because how you did and how you learned how to deadlift this way shows that it inspires others, inspires me, legitimately inspires me. The process of you learning, you hired a coach, you stayed with it for 4 years, and it would be insulting to say that you are in the top 1% for 51-year-olds because you're probably in the top 1% physically for any adult male, right?
Probably.
And think about the work that you had to do to get there.
Yeah,
It's the mindset that you just perfectly described translates to business, right?
exactly.
You need to get a mentor, and it's going to take a lot longer than you think of consistent action to get the end result that you want. That's the perfect.
Years. We got to quit thinking in months. Most of the things that we achieve in success or some level of skill take years.
Yeah,
So be realistic about that. But if that bothers you, understand that unless you die, the same amount of time is going to pass no matter what.
that's a
If you want
great
to
point.
lift 500 pounds and you know it's going to take you 3 or 4 years to get there, well, guess what? Unless you die, you're going to live 3 or 4 years. At that
Yeah,
time, are you going to be lifting 500 or are you not? So there's a journey that you have to commit to. And you've seen me do this with the public speaking.
yep,
You've seen me do this going to comedy school.
yep,
You've seen me learn how to skateboard in bowls. At
yes,
age 50, I started skateboarding again, and now I'm doing well.
I see
And
it.
so, all these are intentional. These are things that I do to challenge myself.
Hmm.
I'm having fun. I
Learning
eat shit a
skills.
lot on the skateboard, and it's still fun. It reminds me of like football days and just crashing into concrete. But it's a challenge, and I know it's hard, and I like the adrenaline rush. I'm kind of a daredevil, anyways.
Yeah,
But I always take people on that journey, and I think that's why the audience has grown for me because I promised them I was like, dude, I suck at this. I showed people I was eating shit on my driveway. My kid was laughing at me,
I remember
and
those.
so now I'm like doing backside grinds and
Yeah,
rock and rolls and shit, just doing crazy shit now.
stuff that if I tried, I'd be in three pieces on the floor.
Exactly. At the skate park, there's guys that are a lot better than me that I have them teach me things.
Yeah,
I do reps.
absolutely. What do you look for when you look for businesses to work with? Because I know you don't take everybody.
I would say my ideal customers. I do serve people that are in the startup and the scale phase at the
Hmm.
beginning. But I'd say my ideal customers, like the ones that I earn the most from and get the biggest results from, are those who have already kind of figured out the money issue because
Hmm.
I don't want money to be a deciding factor when people work with me.
Yeah.
So these people are already making enough that they can afford what I charge. And what I find is this is generally people in the 5 million revenue range to even the 50 million range. I find that the people that earn the most actually have the least amount of time and most stress and are not around their families. As an executive coach and a performance coach, I always look for things to make their company run more efficiently, start putting processes and systems and people in place so they don't have to always be there
Yep.
and get them out of that self-employment trap where they can actually start to enjoy their lives and take 2 or 3 weeks off
Yep.
vacation without worrying about their thing imploding, and they start to become happier, have better relationships, and they get in the best physical fitness shape of their life. Their mindset stronger. They start learning new skills, things that they're interested in. That's the greatest reward. And people that are maybe wanting to scale something to exit, I've been
Hmm.
doing a lot more of those M&A type deals from my own experience. We've taken people from 5 million to $45 million just working in the coaching business. And so there's a lot of different avenues that I have a lot of experience in. I think a lot of coaches kind of lack because they kind of do that whole 10 points to success. Like
Right.
they stick at that. And guys, if you ever join a group of people that are doing that kind of shit, look around and realize that a year into it, they're all kind of at the same place they were when they started
Hmm.
and they don't know why, but all the people in here are cool. So I'm going to keep paying to be in here. Like that's the wrong kind of group you're in. You
Yeah.
shouldn't be in groups that are kind of like misery camps for everybody.
Yep. Or if there's drama, I always talk about what is, if someone wants to talk about leadership, well, how many people have they led? If you want to talk about being a good leader has a solid, stable group of employees.
For
Okay.
sure.
We don't rotate our team.
Especially your highest level employees.
Yes. What you would consider a right hand person, an
Yeah.
executive.
Your executive team should not be having this turnover. It just,
Ever.
no,
Ever. You did something wrong. That's what's
because those
going
should be the people that have become the most loyal through watching and observing and time. There's always a time factor, right?
on.
But
Yes.
I think also to be real though, when you start to get a name brand, like some of these coaches that we're thinking about,
Hmm.
you start to get these hanger honors, the people that want to ride the tail,
Yes.
ride the tailcoat. They figure, hey, if I become number two or number three, number four, number five of this guy, then I'm going to be an influencer too. And I
Yes.
know that some of those coaches are guilty of selling that idea or that hope. Hey,
Hmm.
if you come ride with me, I'll make you this and that. But it's all bullshit because people with that kind of an ego at the top,
Yes.
you're always going to be in the shadow. And anything you do while you're involved with those kind of people, they're
Yep.
going to try to take the credit from you. Like, oh,
100%.
you wouldn't have had that if you didn't work with me. If you go work with them thinking you're going to ride the tailcoats and be the second, you're going to be in their
Yeah.
shadow and they're going to take all the credit. And even when you leave, what always happens,
Hmm.
it could be years down the road, and that same jackass will be saying, like, well, I taught that guy
Yep.
everything he knew. That's another reason Frizella would never do that.
Never.
Violet would never do that. I would never do that. I
Absolutely
actually
not.
want to teach my clients everything I know.
Yep.
And I am proud when they go use it out there, and,
Yeah.
and they can take all the credit if they want,
Yep.
or they can say, hey, Tony taught me this, and I
Yep.
don't care. I'm happy either way.
I love it. Some people take more time to reveal themselves, but what I would add to what you just said is if you have enough people that say something similar to coach or about the organization that left or in there, if that doesn't raise a red flag and make you do a little more digging, it's problematic because I'll tell you right now, Tony's actually too kind to say this on the show, but I'm going to say it. I fit the description that Tony just said. There was a good 2-3 years where I fit that description, and it was only because that influencer was helping me, and they were getting paid for it very well. Did not turn their back, and as soon as there was an opportunity for them to make more money doing something else and violate the agreements that we had in place, they did that.
Mhm.
And it took me 3 or 4 years to learn that very expensive, very annoying lesson.
Yeah.
Tony, appreciate you because you're such a gentleman.
Yeah.
Because, hey, if I made this mistake, you can make this mistake. Anyone can make this mistake.
It's a common mistake. So whenever you're using a group to generate leads
Mm-hmm.
and you are making more than the membership costs,
Yes.
from a financial perspective, yeah, it makes sense to stay in there. But as soon as I realize that the leader of the group is unethical or has low morals,
Mm-hmm.
I don't want the dirty money. I don't want to be
Great.
associated with dirty money. I think that's the lesson you learned is
Mm-hmm.
all money's not good money. And
True.
as soon as you learn or catch a whiff of like, I'm getting money, but it's not from the right source,
Yeah.
that goes back to your core values. And if your core values are shot, you're going to stick around. If not, you're going to be like, dude, I'm just going to keep taking the money.
Yep. It took me a little bit. And here's why, because I never actually saw it. I'm a big believer in people gossip no matter what.
Yeah.
I need to see it or experience it. And up until that point, I never did. And I knew I was providing a great service for the people in that group. However, as soon as it happened, well, you know what? There was smoke saying he was a snake. Turned out he was a snake. I got bit. That's on no one except myself.
Yeah.
Right? That's part of it. And that's why I feel so strongly about this, Tony, because I know there are so many good coaches out there that do the right job, that have the experience, that can actually help entrepreneurs. And me and you are aligned in our mission, right? You want to help entrepreneurs. I want to help entrepreneurs. We do it different ways, but it doesn't make a difference. We both have the same end goal. So if I can do anything to help you, I do, and vice versa. That's why you're on. What are some of the other things you think people should look out for, or some of the other things that can help people make a decision on who and how to get a coach?
I think just use the tools that we have available. I
Yeah.
think Google will reveal a lot. Just
Yes.
always search that person's name with the word scam next to it or the word fraud next to it. Just keywords that Google will find, and anything that's out there on the internet will be discovered by that, right?
Yes.
If you find
Lawsuit.
that they have one or two or three and it was 10 years ago, then maybe things have improved. But if things are going on within the last year, 2 years,
Yeah.
and you see a pattern of this and it's just going over and over,
Yep.
you should take that as a red flag, not a caution flag. It should be a red flag. Like,
Let's
don't
stop.
waste
Full stop.
money on this. Like, there's so many other opportunities out there. One of the things I like to do is whenever someone, especially with the one-on-one coaching with me,
Mhm.
I'll let them meet as many as my current clients as they want. And also I'll give them a few contacts of former clients that I've worked with. And I think nobody will give those former clients up unless they treated them well. I actually made this post a few months ago about my different coaching.
Yeah.
I said, I'm still friends with all of my former clients.
That's awesome.
I don't owe anybody money.
Yep.
I listed all these things that people don't have to do. I am friends. I haven't had to block or kick out anybody that's been
Yeah.
a former client. I will definitely use referrals from past and present. That's one question you could ask. Hey,
Yeah. It's
do you
huge.
mind if I talk to a couple of your former clients in the last year?
Yeah.
They're going to tell the truth.
Brilliant.
They're going to spill a tea. And if they won't give it to you, then that's another red flag. Like, well,
Yeah.
you don't even have any good ones that left that'll even lie for you. Like, what's
Yeah.
going on?
I'm sure they have people that'll lie for them.
I think people are smarter than some of these people give them credit for. If you have a conversation with somebody, you can tell if they're full of shit or not.
I got one ending question because I don't want to take a lot of your time, and I appreciate you coming on here. Tony, what are you most excited for in the next 6 to 12 months?
6 to 12 months. I'm just going to use a vacation answer because that's what's on my mind right now.
Yeah.
October, which is a few weeks from now,
Mm-hmm.
my wife and I are going to take 2 weeks and we're going to do a cruise, and we're going to start in Spain and go
That's
around the coast of Italy and end up in Greece. And the cool thing about what I get to do is I'll still be taking my coaching calls, so I can be on a boat in the evening and taking calls after we do the touring and stuff like that. That's part of the lifestyle I've built. I like being able to go to the gym or the skate park or do things in the middle of the day and go on date night every night with the wife.
Yeah.
So I get to enjoy my life. And yeah, so that's probably the most exciting thing. I speak at a lot of events and things like that, but to me, it's just another cool event to go meet people. But there's not one on the calendar that's like, I can't wait to go to
Yeah.
that one, you know?
Well, I will say this: the events that you have thrown, and I have not been to one yet. I need to get to one. Anything and everything I've ever heard or seen from the events is
Yeah.
really done well. You go to great locations, you have great experiences, and I'm sure that creates a different type of event than people are normally used to because you have a lot more bonding there. You know?
Our events are usually about 5 days long.
Yep.
So it's kind of a vacation.
Yeah.
And we always pick some kind of cool destination place around the world.
Yeah.
And here's the cool thing about it. One, it is a business expense because it's a business trip.
Yep.
But we only have 6 hours of speaking total.
Really?
So we've kind of come up with this formula: 6 hours in one day. Most people can handle before they get the brain fade and the brain fog, and it's just like fire hose. And so I usually give one of those speeches, and I usually bring 4 or 5 different speakers.
Yeah.
The other thing that's cool about it is that we always have physical challenges like hiking or whitewater rafting. One of the events, we rented out a car racing school, and all the attendees got to race professional
Really?
racing school. And so we always have some kind of a physical or mental challenge. The other thing is the speakers that come to our events, I make sure that they interact and they're part of that entire journey. Like I don't
Yep.
want people that are coming in and they got a big ego and they just want to, speak and then they leave. It's like, no, you're going to come hang out with us, have meals with us,
Yeah.
go on these trips and do these cool things with us. People are charged up because they're getting to interact with people they recognize and they're building, a network. You spend 4 or 5 days doing physical challenges and social things with people. You build a little family, and each of these of different events, we've done 7 of them so far. Each of those becomes like a little micro family. It's cool to see these people collaborating, doing business with each other and supporting each other on social media.
Yeah.
Those people that go to multiple events are in each of those little micro families.
Yeah.
Dude, my wife and I, Lisa, we just love to be the person that sets that up.
Yeah.
I'm a community builder, and it's not about me.
Yeah.
I just want to build the community where you guys interact and become best friends, and I'll be a part of that. But it's not about me.
Yeah.
Like we're all going to be friends at the end of this. That's the cool part about what we do.
Our mutual friend has spoken. A couple of our mutual friends have spoken at your events, and
Yeah.
Jason is 100% the real deal.
Yeah.
He's probably one of the best humans walking the planet with the stuff that he does.
About Cisneros.
Yes, Cisneros. Yeah, we're not talking about. He's a phenomenal operator.
Yeah.
He's probably one of the best humans walking the planet.
Yeah.
He'll help.
He's at an 8-figure exit, and now he spends all of his time chasing pedophiles and
Yes.
kicking in doors.
Yes, exactly. I've worked together on some of that stuff. I don't kick in doors. I got him some money.
Let's go kick in some doors, Jonathan. Let's do that.
Doing those Alex Rosen videos.
Yeah.
I have tried to set that up here, but I would 100% do that.
Yeah.
Except I don't know if I could control myself. But with 3 little kids, you just think, God forbid, if they touch my
red,
you wake up in a cell. That's a little challenging for me.
Got it.
So, anyway, guys, Tony, thank you so much for coming on. Where can anyone reach out to you, contact you if they want coaching or just have questions?
Yeah, my website is 365driven.com.
Yep.
And that's my handle on all the social media platforms, 365 Driven, which is also the title of my podcast.
Yep.
If you guys want to check that out, we're 6 years in. It's a top 1% rated show, and I've interviewed a lot of the names people will recognize and hundreds of interviews. But yeah, I've enjoyed it and good catching up with you, Jonathan. Keep doing what you're doing, man. I'm proud of you, dude. You're getting out of your own shadows and putting yourself out there, doing all the uncomfortable shit.
Thank you, man. And I feel the same, Tony. And if I can do anything for you, let me know. Guys, give him a follow. Thank you.